Hello friends, this is Ram Lakshmanan, architect of Ycrash. So welcome to the part 4 of 7 JVM arguments of highly effective application. In this part 4, we are going to discuss about some timeout settings which may be helpful to your application. Friends, this is a typical application architecture. Let it be web services, SOA or microservices or a web application. So this is a typical architecture. Okay. See, we have an application server, and at the front, very forefront, there is server application container thread pool. Right. There is a threads are here. And your application, modern application, it talks with multiple different system of records. Like your application may be talking to some system in REST protocol, some in SOAP protocol. Some systems may be in JDBC, and there could be even a mainframe based systems in which you're talking. So typically when a request comes, say this black arrow indicates, let's say a new request comes to your application, then what happens is a thread. So what you see, the red arrows are the threads in the thread pool. This thread pool, it picks up the incoming request, and then it goes on, executes the business logic, and then it tries to go and connect with that particular system based on the incoming request. And then it establishes a connection with the system, gets the data, massages the data, processes the data, and then sends back the result to your customer. And once it is done, then the thread once again goes back to the thread pool. Okay, so this is a very typical application architecture. So now here, let's say your application talks with multiple system of records. Let's say one of the system of record happens to have a problem. Say it's responding very slowly and it's taking very long time to respond. Okay, let's say it is having a problem. Let's say it is having a problem. Let's say now a new request comes. Now what will happen? A thread pool in the front application container, the front end thread pool, it's going to pick up the request, and now it's going to go and make a call to this system. I say this system is taking very long time to respond, right? Then what will happen? It's not going to get response. So this thread has a potential to be stuck there waiting for the response. If proper timeouts are not set, it can be stuck there waiting for response if proper timeouts are not set. Now let's say another request comes, and now a second thread will be taken from this thread pool, and he's going to go and he's going to try to make a connection with this external system, REST-based system, and say it's not responding. Then this thread also gets stuck there. Similarly, as new request comes, the threads can go and then they will get stuck. So now if you can see, if just this one system of record is unresponsive, then it can swallow or it can eat up all the threads from this servlet container thread pool. It goes and stuck. So if it is stuck, then there is no more threads here to service the new incoming request. That means what's going to happen? Your application is going to become unresponsive. So just say, and that too, let's say if this REST based system is not a high priority, it's not a critical system, right? Even if it's not a critical system, because the timeouts are not set properly, then it can bring down, it can collapse the availability of your entire application, because if all threads are taken up and they are stuck, then you are not going to have any more threads to service the new incoming request. So that will question, that will challenge the availability of the application, right? So this is where these two properties may be of help to you. Sun.net default connect timeout and Sun.net default read timeout. See, friends, typically what happens here in this scenario, well architected applications, they would have a connection pool, and the connection pool would have a timeout settings. So if it goes beyond that connection timeout, then the threads will be short circuited and then they will be going back. But we don't know whether in your application is timeout is set for all different types of system of records that you are connecting to. So for JDBC, it's a separate connection pool. For mainframe, it's a separate connection pool. Are proper timeout set for each different pool? We don't know that. So this is a fallback, a final safety net, what you can set. The default connect timeout and default read timeout. It takes in the value in milliseconds. So here I am setting it to 2000 milliseconds, the connect timeout, and read timeout to be 2000 milliseconds. So it means if default connect timeout I'm sending to 2000 milliseconds, if say I'm trying to establish a connection with one backend system of record, and that system of record I'm not able to establish the connection within this 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds, then automatically that connection will be short circuited and the thread would fail, and then it will go back to that the front end thread pool, right? And similarly, the next one is the read timeout. What is this property is, say I established the connection with the backend system. Connection was successfully established, but let's say the system is not responding to my request. I established a connection, but he is not responding to my connection. So this read timeout tells how much time I should wait before I get any response, any payload back from that system of record. If I don't get any payload back, then the operation will be short circuited, and then the thread would be freed up and then go back to the servlet container thread pool. Okay, so this is a default safety net parameter that you can set. So this property, this timeout property, will work for all protocols as long as it extends from URL connection. So most of the protocols extends from the URL connection, so it will work. This will work for you for most of the cases. And one more thing that what you want to do is, you want to make sure this value what you set at the JVM level, see, this has a global implication, so you want to set it to be a very large value. The reason being, say if you set it to be a very aggressive value, then the timeouts will start to happen very quickly. For some system of records, maybe the average response time for them, let's say, I don't know, maybe it's a 5 second. Then you don't want to set this to be like a 2 second, rather you want to keep a very large value, like a 10 second, so that you don't short circuit those system of records connectivity. Okay, so this is the 6th argument that you can consider passing to your JVM. And then the 7th argument argument that you can consider passing to your application is HeapDumpOnOutOfMemoryError and HeapDumpPath. See, friends, lot of time your application, not a lot of time, few times your application might suffer from out-of-memory error. When out-of-memory error happens, because of the heat of the moment, what does the site reliability engineering team or the production support team they do is they go ahead and then they restart your JVM. But if you want to diagnose out-of-memory error, you need to capture the heap dump. Heap dump is basically a snapshot of your memory. It shows what are all the objects there, what size they occupy, what are the references to that. It gives you such information. So you need to capture the heap dump right before the application right around the time it was experiencing out-of-memory error. Because say if you're going to capture heap dump after application was restarted, that means objects would have been cleared up. The memory leaking objects would have been cleared up, and you wouldn't have the proper snapshot, proper data to diagnose the problem. So you need to capture the heap dump right before it experiences out-of-memory error. So that's where these two arguments comes into help. So you can say heap dump on out-of-memory error, and then heap dump path, and here you can give a file path /temp myheapdump.bin. You can give like that. So when you do that, whenever any out-of-memory error happens, automatically heap dump will be captured, and then heap dump will be dumped into this file path what you are mentioning here. So that you have heap dump ready for the diagnosis. And see, friends, there are more JVM arguments just around the out-of-memory error what you can configure. So here is a white paper that we have published, talks about all the JVM arguments related to out-of-memory error. If it's of interest to you, you can take a look at it. Okay. So once you have captured the out-of-memory error, here are some of the tools available, like ePro, ycrash, EclipseMath. These are some of the tools available for you to take the heap dump and diagnose and tell you what made the memory leak and how to go about, what are the biggest objects, and how you can go about fixing it. Okay, friends, with this completes our the 7 JVM arguments of highly effective applications. We hope you found this to be helpful. So thank you very much for listening to our talks. Thanks a lot. Bye.